So now on to our weekly Panther report. The Panthers beat the Saints on Sunday, 26-7. I was I wanted the Panthers to win. I kind of expected them to win, but I was not expecting this.
Now, if you know anything about Panthers fans, you'll know that beating the Saints, even one out of the two times we play them a year, is amazing. It's a great feeling. So this is great. This is a wonderful second game of the season. Um, I don't think many sports analysts actually were taking the Panthers to win this game after Jameis Winston went absolutely insane and crushed the Packers. But it's on record. Terrence and I both took the Panthers, and here we are. We were right. So let's break it down. Sam Darnold goes 26 for 38, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Christian McCaffrey gets 72 yards on 22 carries with a touchdown, but he also adds in 65 receiving yards with no touchdown. He does get a 32-yard reception. DJ Moore comes out with 79 yards and a touchdown. Longest was a 20-yard reception. Brandon Zylstra actually comes out with 44 yards and a touchdown. He has the opening touchdown. And our tight end, Dan Arnold, comes in and gets 44 yards. I'd also just like to point out that it's a little hurtful on the brain when we have Sam Darnold and Dan Arnold. Unfortunate. But Darnold also has a fumble that he ends up recovering. And then J.C. Horn and Justin Burris both pick off Jameis Winston. J.C. Horn is the rookie we picked up this year, and he's already making a pretty good mark. Now, I'm happy the Panthers won this game, and I'm going to break down the Saints stats in just a second. But I do have to point out that the Panthers did what the Panthers do. They slowed down a good bit offensively as the second half got underway. They let the Saints score, which made the score look a little closer than it should have been. But then they put in 9 points in the fourth quarter, and they pull it out of New Orleans' reach. The Saints score was also in the fourth quarter, I do believe. So the typical Panthers move where they make things a little unnecessarily scary. Sam had like 230 something yards, I think, in the first half, somewhere around that, and he finishes with 305. So definitely not bad, but just kind of the usual Panthers issue of losing steam as we enter the second half. Now, speaking of losing steam, the Saints got pulled back down to earth this week as Jameis Winston goes 11 for 22 for 111 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. He did rush for 19 yards and had a touchdown, one of those being a 12-yard rush. And little Jordan Humphrey led all New Orleans receivers with 27 yards. He only had one reception, so just that one 27-yard reception. And that was the highest total receiving yards among all Saints players. Alvin Kamara, both rushing and receiving, got clamped. So as I said a minute ago, the Saints get returned to earth as they end up facing a pretty hungry Panthers defense. And trying to take my Panthers fan bias out of this, I do think that the Panthers have one of the better defenses in the league. They have been working on it for a few years now, and we're really starting to see it come to fruition this year. So now I will stop rambling and turn it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, you're correct in that last assessment. The defense is something that we've been working on for a few years, considering after that like 2018, 2019 season, we got rid of a whole lot of the people that made our defense work. So they've been retooling it, drafting guys, signing guys, and I think it's starting to look a whole lot better, especially in the secondary, which has been the unit that's probably been the worst consistently for a long time. Even when we've had good players and great players, it hasn't been great as a whole. Big thing for me is that Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is obviously a top 3 running back in the league, or top 4, depending on where you put Derrick Henry, McCaffrey, and Nick Chubb. But the fact that he only ran for 5 yards and he only had 8 carries, but that's a lot. That's a lot for the defense, I'm saying. So to be able to keep him, because at least if he ran the ball 8 times, you'd think he would get at least like 20 yards or something. But only 5 yards, 0.6 yards per carry. Hats off to our defense. I mean, the fact that Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill were the leading rushers says a lot about our performance. Jameis kind of went back to being the Jameis that we knew last year. To be fair, it's something I want to say before getting into our side of things. Did it have people missing? Obviously, Michael Thompson is not there. You're missing other guys as well, but it just wasn't A good performance from Jameis. He had 2 picks. His first pick was one of those old Jameis plays where you don't know what the heck he's doing. I have no idea why he would even fathom throwing that one up. But regardless, the Saints offense was just not there today. Sam Darnold, for us, he played well, 305 yards, like you said. He did have one interception, but not a killer, of course. We beat him by 20 points, essentially. Christian McCaffrey, not as efficient running the ball. I think we run with him up the middle too much. I know a few years ago when he first started getting a lot of steam, and becoming one of those top running backs in the league, people criticized him saying, he can't run up the tackles. He's not going to be your every down guy or whatever. And he proved them wrong. But now I feel like we don't really need to use him straight up the middle, 15 times a game. Like, I don't think that's really necessary. Try to get some outside runs, counters, whatever you can. Outside of him, Chuba Hubbard didn't get as good of a game this time around. 8 carries, just 10 yards. So overall, the running game wasn't amazing, but McCaffrey did pick it up in the receiving game. 5 catches, 65 yards. DJ Moore was good. Dan Arnold was good. So overall, we had good contributions from both our offense and our defense. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here. Again, we played the Jets week 1, and we barely beat them. That wasn't super impressive. And then this week, we're going up against a Saints team that is missing a lot of key pieces, and they're missing coaches. But at the end of the day, we still are 2-0. And the fact that we beat the Saints by so much is something that we should be proud of. And now we're going up against the Texans. Considering Tyrod went down, Deshaun is probably not going to be playing again for Houston. We ought to win this one. So starting 3-0, regardless of who you're playing, is something to be proud of.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. I mean, I think the Jets win it was an ugly win, but I mean, it shouldn't have been that ugly, and it was the Jets. So it was a win, but it's not that much of like a mental win. And the Saints team, of course, is not the Saints team we've been facing for the past however many years of Drew Brees domination. But they are still a good team, even with the key pieces they're missing. I mean, they're not a terrible team. And offensively, I mean, you still have Jameis Winston, who, despite what he did that game, is still a great offensive player. And then you have Alvin Kamara, and yeah, I mean, big congrats to our defense for being able to take what Jameis Winston did against the Packers and completely nullify it, and then also take Alvin Kamara and just essentially remove him from the game. Some other things that I like to bring up just for the Panthers here is that I don't think Brandon Zylstra will have this big of a role going forward. Not that he had like a huge role. He had 3 receptions, 44 yards, and a touchdown. It's impressive. He's a good player, but Robbie Anderson just wasn't as prominent as he would usually be, and I think Brandon Zylstra and Dan Arnold stepped up and filled that hole pretty good. And it'll be interesting to see if they can keep that up. I do think, however, that on days where maybe Robbie or DJ has this kind of off game, I think Brandon and Dan are actually pretty reliable people to kind of throw in and just keep the production up to a certain amount. So I am happy with what I saw from this Panthers offense and defense. I just would like to see the Panthers not lose so much steam as they enter the second half.
Yeah, that's all you can really hope for. And going forward, like I said, hopefully we beat the Texans, start 3-0, and after that, we'll just have to see how this team goes.